Donald Trump Jr. took the stand in the ongoing New York fraud trial against his family's business and claimed that he had virtually nothing to do with his own company's financial documents, even though he personally signed them. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Even as Donald Trump remains the overwhelming favorite to win the GOP nomination for president in 2024, he and his various underlings are finally starting to face legal and financial consequences for their attempt to overturn the 2020 election, like his ex-lawyer, Sidney Powell, the insane leopard print lady who stood in front of a soaking wet Rudy Giuliani and claimed China, Cuba, and the ghost of Hugo Chavez had all teamed up with an election software company to rig voting machines, and then was later a key witness in the January 6th congressional investigation where she showed up to her deposition chugging Diet Dr. Pepper like it was Pepto-Bismol and looking like Grandma Saracen from Friday Night Lights. Hey, Grandma, I'm gonna go study with Julie, okay? Matt, lock the door behind you. I don't want Hugo Chavez to get me. All right, I'll stay. I hope Julie doesn't get mad. And yeah, that maybe you're thinking that Friday Night Lights reference would have worked better when it aired, but not a lot of people watched it then. I don't think it was ever going to work. But if it makes one more person start Friday Night Lights, it was worth it. Well, Powell has now pleaded guilty in Georgia, and as part of her guilty plea, she agreed to cooperate with prosecutors and pay restitution to the Secretary of State's office, as well as an additional fine. And on Wednesday, one of Georgia's senior election officials, a Republican, showed off the check she wrote to the Secretary of State's office at a press conference to discuss election integrity.
For over 3 years now, we have had people lying about our elections in Georgia. We have now begun to see the accountability of that take place. So yesterday afternoon, we received our first restitution check from Sidney Powell. It's a small down payment on which will be owed to the voters and the people of Georgia. It's $2,700.
Huh. Just $2,700? Is that worth a press conference? I feel like holding a press conference might cost more than $2,700. But you know what? It's your money, Georgia. You go crazy. Still knowing Sidney Powell, $2,700 could be all of her Diet Dr. Pepper money. Now she's going to have to downgrade to Mr. Pibb. I could never imbibe such an anti-American beverage. Mr. Pibb, as we all know, colluded with Mr. Peanut and the ghost of Chester Cheetah to steal our elections. That's why I had no choice but to kill him and wear his pelt as my sweater. So multiple Trump associates, including Powell, have already flipped and pleaded guilty in Georgia, an actual criminal case that could put Trump behind bars. And yet, it's the civil fraud trial in Manhattan that seems to have rattled him the most. According to the Washington Post, the New York case is in some ways the most deeply personal to Trump. He has told advisors he wants to attend because his children's inheritance and his family's brand are on the line. Several people close to him described him as livid about the trial. First of all, how can you tell when he's livid? Because he always looks livid. He has resting, livid face. He scowls more than an apartment cat watching dogs pass by through the window. Second, I'd buy the line about his brand, but not the line about his children's inheritance. There is no way Trump plans on leaving his children with anything other than a giant stack of unpaid bills. If he has any money left when he dies, he's going to be entombed with it like a pharaoh. Bury me with my last $300 and also Rudy Giuliani. It'll be an honor, boss. You want to be Big Spoon or Little Spoon? I want you to stay alive and scare the rats away from my dead body. The dream! What really seems to be pissing Trump off is the judge in the case ruling that he's just not as wealthy as he claims to be. For example, Trump has been furious about the judge's valuation of his Mar-a-Lago estate, which Trump claims is worth more than $1 billion.
I have a house that's very valuable, and they try and make it like I'm increasing values. And honestly, it's a very conservative number, but they valued a house that's worth 100 times more than the number they use. Let's say 50 to 100. They valued it at $18 million, and people say it's worth anywhere from 50 to 100 and maybe even that more.
He's been given this information. It's now been proven to be false, such as Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, being worth $18 million when, in fact, it's much closer to $1.5 billion.
$1.5 billion. You're saying your low-rent SeaWorld ripoff, a chintzy roadside motel that looks like the kind of thing state health inspectors would shut down because they found feces on the slip and slide, is worth as much as the Burj Khalifa. Your dumb hotel for plastic surgeons and their third wives is worth $1 billion. It looks like the fake stucco castle on the 13th hole of a miniature golf course, not even the 18th. That 5-foot-high castle where you can see the chicken wire sticking out. But if you're still skeptical about Trump's claim that his crappy aquarium is worth $1.5 billion, don't worry, he's got a crack investigator. I'm sorry, an investigator whose head cracked. On the case, Rudy Giuliani did some solid research to prove that Trump's financial assessment is accurate.
So I'm down in Mar-a-Lago, and yesterday I went out and I did some shopping, house shopping. And I found in about 1 hour, 7 pieces of property, none of them 1/20th the size of Mar-a-Lago, for over $25 million.
That's right. Rudy claims he went out and did some house shopping, which definitely means multiple people in Florida were calling the police and saying, "Hi, I'm not sure if this qualifies as an emergency, but a very strange man in what are either short pants or long shorts just asked to buy our house." Of course, when Rudy says he went house shopping, that means there's a good chance he went to the Waffle House. The All-Star Special alone is worth at least $10 million. Rudy then went on to claim that he even showed a specific example of one such house on his so-called live cast.
And I put them on my live cast last night. I put one particular one on that the whole house is about half the size of the main house. Don't count in all the other houses, the beach house. And by the way, this house is 4 blocks from the ocean and 3 blocks from the intercoastal. And of course, Mar-a-Lago's on both.
One, it's very strange to wear a tuxedo shirt without the rest of the tuxedo. Like, the whole time you're watching it, you're like, are you getting home from a party? Or you going to a party? Whose parties do you go to? 2, Rudy would make a terrible real estate agent. The whole time he was talking, I had no clue what the hell he's talking about. I found a great place, the whole size of half the house of the main house, that it's 4 blocks from the beach and 3 blocks from the intercoastal. There's 10 bathrooms if you count closets, and no closets because, well, you will not want to go in there. Now, if you'll excuse me, I either have to put on this bow tie or take off these pants. Surprisingly, Rudy's research has not solved the case, and on Wednesday, Trump's eldest son, Don Jr., was called to testify. At first, he seemed to be enjoying all the attention from the cameras while he sat at the defense table.
I should have worn makeup.
Needing makeup is such a TV insider joke. Like, most people don't know what you're talking about. I get it because I work in TV. I have to wear makeup whenever I'm on camera, a fact that I took for granted until I filmed my show from home during COVID and had to do my own makeup and looked like I was haunting my own house. I looked healthier when I actually had COVID. But when it came time to actually answer questions, Don Jr. seemed much less forthcoming, even claiming he had no involvement in preparing financial documents that he personally signed.
Donald Trump Jr. took the stand late this afternoon, and he denied having any involvement in the preparation of the financial statements in this case. These are the same statements the judge has already found to be fraudulent. So Trump was asked specifically about this, his role, if he had any involvement in the preparation. He said, "I did not. The accountants worked on that. That's what we pay them for." Now, he was specifically asked about 2017. That's the year that he became the trustee of his father's trust when he became president. And that's the first time that Donald Trump Jr. signed the statement certifying that they were accurate. Now, Trump Jr. testified that he may have provided information to the internal accountants who were working on these statements, but he said he didn't know that what he gave them would be used in the financial statements.
I'm sorry, his testimony is that he had nothing to do with the financial statements, except when he gave information to the accountants preparing those financial statements, but he didn't think they would use that information in the statements they were preparing. That's like one of my writers, after a joke of theirs bombs in the monologue, telling me, "I didn't think you were gonna use it." And by the way, that happens all the time. The amount they blame me, whoa, whoa, whoa. Those aren't for public consumption. Also, Don Jr. admits he signed the statement certifying they were accurate. You don't get to claim you didn't know what was in it and then just walk away scot-free. That doesn't work for anyone else. That would be like John Hancock saying, independence from England, I never agreed to that. If I so much as check the wrong box when I sign up for cable, I end up with a recurring charge of $39.99 a month for something called NFL Endzone Plus, which is just a webcam on empty stadiums when their home team is playing somewhere else. The only people who subscribe to it are Giants fans because it's their only chance to see the end zone. Oh, wow, look! It has blue grass. That's so cool. I can see why our team doesn't ever want to step on it. Trump is facing 4 separate criminal cases, and on top of that, a civil fraud case that could topple his business and destroy his personal mythology. He spent decades claiming he's a billionaire, but as this trial has proven, his net worth is much closer to
$2,700.
This has been... You're back! You're back, Sally! Doing a closer look. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching A Closer Look. And as a reminder, my brother Josh and I have started a new podcast called Family Trips with the Myers Brothers. We hope you listen. We hope you like it. And see you soon.